Hi everyone, this is Jiggy, a portrait and wedding photographer from the Philippines, and welcome to the channel. So in this video, I will be discussing how to create beautiful images even in harsh lighting conditions and show you how I lit and shot these images. So before anything else, if you guys haven't subscribed to the channel and would want to learn more about off-camera flash photography or maybe just photography in general, then this channel is for you. So you might want to consider subscribing, and while you're at it, click that notification bell so that you get notified every time I upload a new video. And if you want to see more of my images, you could always find me on Instagram. It's at Jiggy Alejandrino. So in this video, I am once again taking you behind the scenes during an actual wedding, and I will show you how I created those images that you saw in the introduction using one off-camera flash, but I was shooting at 11 a.m. So at 11 a.m. we know that we really have really hard or harsh lighting conditions and overhead light that's not really pleasing to the eye because you get really hard shadows on the face of your subject. This was the time that I was shooting the bridal portraits. Actually, it's called the pre-bridal portraits or the getting ready photographs. So she's just in her robe, and we did a few outdoor photos in this beautiful location called Alpha Land, past Baguio City, which is the summer capital of the Philippines, and what it's known for is the fantastic view of the mountains. So let me show you. Ruby, cover that corner there. And then face me. Face me, yan. Record ito sa akin. Actually, okay yung ganyan. And then profile going here para profile mo pa rin. With this initial clip, you could already see how beautiful the view is, and that's something that we wanted to bring into the image. Now, apologies too that some of the language that you might hear in the video was done in my native dialect, which is Filipino or Tagalog, but basically all I did there was really just tell the lightsman where he's supposed to be and some bridal poses or some poses for the bride. Now, the camera that I used also is my Sony a7R Mark IV, and the lens was my 50mm 1.2 GM, and at the same time I had my Phottix Indra 500. It's a 500-watt strobe that's capable of high-speed sync, and the modifier that I used was my Phottix Raja Deep 60. It's a 60 cm deep octabox. Okay? Sige, tasa mo pa ha? Para hindi ilaw. Okay na. Hindi naman ano eh. Sige pa. Tasa mo dito. Tasa mo dito sa tayo. Hindi naman ako. Sige pa. Dito matabas yung ilaw. So the position of my light was dictated on where the existing ambient light was coming from. Yes, it was coming from directly above, but it came at a general direction. That's why I had my light somewhere here, because I wanted to replace the existing ambient light. Nice. Nice. Wait lang ha. Ruby sa daw lang din. Yeah. And then look back towards me. There. So yung ilaw nanggagaling ko sa nanggagaling ilaw na yan sa labas ko. So there, I actually said it. Kung saan nanggagaling yung ilaw. In other words, in Filipino, in English, that means where the light is coming from. So I wanted the light coming from that same general direction. There, first, And yes, those are the little things that you don't really see whenever I am shooting or the videos that I would show, but we always have to make sure that our equipment is secure, such as what you saw here. It almost fell because my assistant wasn't able to lock the modifier in place. Okay. Right. Okay, Ruby, perfect. Perfect. There we go. Love it. Nice. Beautiful. So this is how the image looked like without flash. I basically underexposed the scene by one stop, and I was at 1/8000 f3.2 at ISO 100. So I had my flash and camera set on high-speed sync. That's why I was able to have that shutter speed of 1/8000. However, you saw that even at 1/8000, the widest aperture we were able to get was 3.2. That means that the light was really so intense and strong at that particular moment. 3.2 is actually good enough to create some separation from the background and my subject. Even though we wanted to shoot with a view in the background, I still did not want it to be that distracting. That's why I decided to blur it out a bit. However, since I was just using a 50mm, I wasn't really crushing the background, so you could still see what the background was really all about. So this image is the one without light, after which I popped in the light. This is a straight out of the camera image. Absolutely no editing has been done yet, and this is the final processed image. All I did was really brighten up a bit of the shadows and shift my white balance a bit, and of course cleaned out this area here. And then here's the next layout. So what I did there is I took out the front diffuser because I needed to get a bit more power from my flash, because I was already shooting at full power, and I felt that at full power at 1/8000 f3.2 I was really pushing the limits of my flash with that particular modifier. So by removing the front diffuser, I made the light a bit harder. However, it gave me a bit more power, and that's exactly what I did in this next layout. Don't take that away from me. Good. And once again, this is the image without flash. And here's one thing that's very important in this particular image. Whenever I am lighting, every light that's in my scene has to have a specific purpose. One reason also on why I love shooting during that time of day, meaning light coming from above, it's because it gives me natural hair light. And at the same time, the greens become greener and the blues become bluer at that particular time. So with me, I always shoot to protect my highlights. That's why you notice the straight out of camera images may be a tad bit underexposed. But since I am gonna process all my images anyway, and my JPEG files are actually set to overexpose it a bit so that the straight out of camera JPEGs are good. Now, again, what I did was I exposed for the hair light, which is on this one here. You could see this one. That's where my exposure was based on, and I had my light hitting her here just to remove all these ugly shadows. And this is a straight out of the camera image again, and this is a processed image. You see how whenever I process my images, all I need to do was really brighten up a little bit of the shadows here in the back to bring in more of the scene. Okay, so here's another layout. So from there, what I decided to do was I felt that shooting on high-speed sync was really taking too much juice from my flash, that it limited the position of my flash in terms of my flash to subject distance. I needed to keep it at a certain distance from her to get the most power, and I also needed to remove the double diffusion. But I wanted softer light, so that's why I wanted the diffusion back, and I decided to employ another technique which I will show you now. There, you could see what I was doing. I was playing around with something in front of my camera. This is what I was playing around with. Instead of going on high-speed sync, I decided to just put in a very ND filter. And my very ND filter of choice is this one. This is the very ND from H&Y, part of their magnetic series, because, look at this, I can adjust the filter thread size to any size from, I think, 67 mm to 82 mm. So I could use this with my ultra wide and also use it with my prime lenses. Now, the beautiful thing about the very ND filter is that, see, it snaps on magnetically only, and I can adjust this one to how dense I want it to be. In other words, when I put it on a higher number, it cuts more light. That allows me then to stay within my flash sync speed and still shoot wide open, which is exactly what I did in this next layout. Then face me completely, Ruby. Yeah. Then profile going here, Ruby. Of course, sabayan mo siya. Dito. Nice. Beautiful. You notice I already had my front diffusion installed back in my modifier because I was using an ND filter, therefore I had more power in my flash already. And this is the image without flash. You notice my settings changed drastically. Instead of 1/8000, I'm now down to 1/250, and my f-stop is now down to 2.5 at -1. So from here, I took another shot with my flash, and this is how it looks like straight out of the camera, and this is the processed image. By the way, I will be coming out with a video after this one, so subscribe to the channel if you want to see that on how I process these images. So again, here's another layout. Then tilt your head this way, and then smiling, Ruby. Nice. And then this time. So here again is the straight out of the camera image without any light, with light, processed image. And for the final layout, without bouquet, and then angas ka lang dyan. Yun lang. Yeah. So this is the image again, once again, without light, with light, processed. All at 1/250 f2.5 ISO 100 at one stop underexposed. You saw the very big difference. The nice thing about using an ND filter is that I could now play around with the distance of my light, the position of my light. I got the softest light possible from my modifier, all because I decided to stay within my flash sync speed, therefore giving me my full power, my full 500 watts. However, you saw from the video, I'm pretty sure you noticed it, that the tones of the images turned warmer because of this ND filter, but it's nothing that I can't really fix in post. So it's just a matter of knowing what these ND filters can really do, or what these ND filters will do in the negative aspect. But for me, it's not really negative because I do like warmer tone images, but I would have wanted it to be neutral, and I wanted to control that tone in my white balance. But you know, it is what it is. Okay, so if you guys have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comment section below. But again, I just want to reiterate, this is one of the reasons why I love shooting during this time. Number one, the light is coming from a direction which gives the natural hair light. Number two, it is normally during this time that you get the blue skies, you have everything that's green, and the cloud formation is normally fantastic during this time, which in this case, towards the end of the day, it started raining and it was so foggy, so it's a good thing that we were able to get the shots already with that fantastic view. So if you enjoyed this video, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and while you're at it, click that notification bell so that you get notified every time I upload a new video. And if you want to see more of my images, you could always find me on Instagram. It's at Jiggy Alejandrino. Okay, till the next video.